Om. Om. Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः. सरस्वती नमो नित्यं भद्रकाल्यै नमो नमः. वेदवेदाङ्गवेदान्तविद्यास्थानेभ्य एव च सरस्वती महाभागे विद्ये कमललोचने विद्यारूपे विशालाक्षी विद्यां देहि नमोऽस्तुते. यदक्षरं पदं भ्रष्टं मात्राहीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देवी प्रसीद परमेश्वरी. ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः. अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म श्री गुरवे. Hari Om. Happy Mahashivratri to all of you. Today we are on the last chapter 10 of this second Dashak. And with that we will conclude this series of Dasbodh. And as I have said before also, Swami Samarth Ramdas belonged, we must keep in mind the time and period where he was and what was the social conditions in his time, because when masters speak, they also address an audience of a particular period. We must keep that in mind and we must not hold like you may one or two lines, and when here you will find he speaks about in this chapter about signs of educated fools. Now we are all educated, isn't it? If this class is happening in English and we all are understanding English, it shows that we have gone to school and studied. Educated we are, whether wise or otherwise. Now we will, as we read this topic, let us not assume anything. When we read also, no, you may say, seems correct. Yeah, very true what he says. That's not the point. The point is, we must be able to precisely understand what he's saying. The lakshana he is indicating here. When he is talking about conduct behavior basically. Even in the last few topics that he's covered, that a person who is like this, who acts like this, who speaks like this, who behaves like this, and that way he is actually talking about each one's behavior, and behavior can be corrected. But how can behavior be corrected? Only in the thought, which is very, very subtle. If our own attitude, because every word, I mean, that we speak, every action that we do is but a manifestation, of a very subtle, invisible thought. Uh, Thoughts are invisible, they are very subtle. Whereas expressions of thoughts are behavior and conduct. So when he keeps correcting behavior, we must actually go within and correct our thinking. Because if it doesn't get corrected at the thought level, these mistakes can be committed again and again. We may say, sorry, I'm sorry I did this. But if you're not convinced that we have really made a mistake, or if we have not understood what exactly was our mistake, we tend to commit it again and again. So this we must see when he says signs of educated fools, yeah, he is pointing out behavior. But where in the thinking is one wrong is where we should. Because for a spiritual person, he pays more attention to what is subtle, what is higher. So, these are the lakshanas. We shall just see what he talks about, because he has spoken about a simple fool who is tamasic by nature, and now this is typically one who has the privilege of education. It's a very big privilege. And yet, if we have not allowed or not used this privilege properly, then we fall into this category of educated fools. And education was not like what it is today. I think it is very easy to find many, many more educated fools. Few people got educated, 500 years ago. Women were hardly educated. So 50% of all that population never got educated. Among the men also, a few of them were really privileged to have it. So anyway, we shall read Samas10. Padatta Murkha Lakshan. Padatta Murkha Shri Ram. Yeah, she's got the verses there. मागा सांगितलेले लक्षणे मूर्खा अंगी चातुर्य बळणे. आता ऐका शहाणे असोनी मूर्ख. तया नाव पडत मूर्ख. श्रोती न माधावे दुःख. अवगुण त्यागिता सुख प्राप्त होय. बहुश्रुत आणि वित्पन्न प्रांजळ बोले ब्रह्मज्ञान. दुराशा आणि अभिमान धरी तो एक पडत मूर्ख. मुक्त क्रिया प्रतिपादी सगुण भक्ती उच्छेदी. स्वधर्म आणि साधन निंदी तो एक पडत मूर्ख. आपलेन ज्ञातेपणे सकलांस शब्द ठेवणे. प्राणी मात्राचे पाहे उणे तो एक पडत मूर्ख. शिष्यास अवज्ञा घडे का ते संकटी पडे. जयाचेही शब्दे मन मोडे तो एक पडत. रजोगुणी तमोगुणी कपटी कुटिल अंतःकरणी. वैभव देखोनी वाखाणी तो एक पडत. समूळ ग्रंथ पाहिल्याविण उगाच ठेवी जो दूषण. गुण सांगता अवगुण पाहे तो एक पडत. लक्षणे ऐकून मानी वीठ मत्सरे करी कटपट. नीती न्याय उद्धट तो एक पडत. जाणपणे भरी भरे आला क्रोध न भरे. क्रिया शब्दास अंतरे तो एक पडत. We just take a look at these 10 verses. Some of these words even I don't understand, they are in Marathi. But we thankfully we have the English translation here. I'm not very happy with the English translation also, because somewhere I feel it has been literally translated, and the spirit may have been lost. I'm not sure. But anyway, we shall just look at this. The first one, in the last chapter, some signs were told by which a foolish person will also be wise. Foolish person can become wise, I think, here, if he corrects himself. Now, listen about those who are fools, though they are educated. They are called educated fools. Listeners should not get annoyed to hear about them. If the vices are dropped, man becomes happy. Means again, when anyone finds criticism, nobody likes to be criticized. Natural. It is a very natural feeling. Everyone loves appreciation. Nobody likes to be criticized. This is very true. Huh? But we must be open to criticism, because that's where growth is. So when somebody criticizes you, first of all, in a way, say thank you in the mind. Uh, Give it, think about it. Why have you been criticized? What is it that could have been done? And if it is worth, and there is a point, then correct yourself immediately. But if there is no point, then you must learn to just, okay, it's okay. I have not got it as yet, and leave it. When a seeker is truly looking at evolving, becoming better and better, if that is the focus, then he or she welcomes such people, who find fault in their way of thinking, in their way of doing something. These are the people I call movers and shakers. Invite these people into your life. Friends are very good to have, because a lot of healing happens and appreciation happens. But it is these kind of people who can criticize you, tell you on your face where you're going wrong. If a more mature person likes this kind of company, because he likes to correct himself and he seeks to improve upon himself. So one should not feel bad when you're being corrected. That itself shows that you are on the right path. A man may have heard a lot of things and may be erudite, and he may even give a good speech with knowledge of Brahman. But if he has bad desires and pride, he is one of such educated. See, you may be a good speaker, you have great oratory skills, and even there are many people who have heard enough of satsangs that they can speak like a satsangi very soon. They can give a good lecture, talks with the knowledge of Brahman, good speech with knowledge of Brahman, which is the ultimate truth. But you should look at not what he is saying. If you look at what he does, his actions, if his actions are showing you that he is very proud, he has pride of his knowledge, if he has desires, then you must know that this is only bookish knowledge. It is not true, which means again, somewhere else also he has said this, that what you do, what you say, and what you think must all be aligned. Otherwise, you are a panatham, educated. And we often come under the influence of educated fools, because we only listen to them and then maybe not have much to do with them. Then we think this one has got great oratory skills, very, very big pandit, intellectual. We don't know them closely. We don't know what they do in their personal life. So we must not fall for it immediately, listening to what they say. As there is a saying that goes like this. It says that believe only half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. So a spiritual seeker must be like this. One who propagates immoral actions and is against traditional devotion to God and further criticizes the religious tenets is an educated. One who propagates immoral actions is a fool only, whether he is educated or not otherwise, and is against traditional devotion to God and further criticizes religious tenets. Swami Samarth has clearly said he is an educated fool. One who thinks himself to be very knowledgeable and finds faults with all people and jealously disrespects everyone is an educated fool. See, when we get education, there is pride that we are educated. You will see this in people. I mean, clearly this is visible. I don't know if you'll have paid attention to this fact. I have met people who are barely gone to school. They have maybe just been up to primary school, fourth standard, or maybe eighth standard pass or fail. Versus people who have gone to school and have had college education also. But when both of them speak, I sometimes feel that this person, so called educated, is actually got no intelligence at all. You know, the privilege of having gone to school and college and being able to speak in a particular language, they have great pride in this. Whereas when they open their mind, there is no substance to what they speak. They keep on talking a lot though. And these ones who haven't gone to school or college at all have lot of maturity in their thinking. They are very sensitive and make sensible statements. Now, I'm not comparing educated, uneducated people and not generalizing anything. But what I'm trying to say is just that this person has gone to school and has gotten education gives him pride of it. He becomes proud of that matter. And when I hear them speak, the way the educated person will talk to the uneducated person as though he knows a lot. He doesn't know much. He doesn't even know as much as this uneducated person, actually. But he is very proud of it. And that stops him from seeing something clearly. So, this pride of knowledge, even Bhagavan Shankara says in Sadhana Panchakam, in the first text that we study, Garva Parityajyanam, this is important. Because in the Jnana Marga, you are studying, you are supposed to study, read a lot of texts, and then this Garva comes up, horns come up, grow horns, this education. I know this, I have studied this, comes up. So, no pride and bad desires and immoral actions. This person is seen propagating that he is a padalikha murkha and jealous. This person can be very jealous also. One who gives orders to his disciple, which are very difficult, and the disciple either disobeys them or in the this of following them, a calamity falls upon him. One who contradicts what others say is an educated fool. Here he is talking about this educated person who, what does he do to his disciple? Puts him under great test, which is very difficult, almost impossible to do. And in doing so, the disciple falls into some kind of great difficulty or calamity for him. Such is a padalekha murkha. And he contradicts whatever others say. Yeah, some people think they are intelligent only if they contradict what is generally accepted. They have to have a critical point to say. judge, some point of judgment they need to make. They will not agree with everyone. Just to show that, okay, I can think this way. Hmm? This is also very possible. Padha likha. A man of rajasic quality, crooked in nature, praises anyone who is rich, is uneducated. One who criticizes any book without reading it completely, and as soon as someone tells about someone's virtues, immediately points out his defects to him. Because basically they are jealous. So when they can't even bother, they can't hear somebody being appreciated. The moment this happens with students also, you appreciate one student, at that very moment you will hear a negative comment from them. What? Why can't somebody accept goodness in others? Is it like that with me? Let us look within and correct ourselves. This is the Lakshanam. If a man is bored when he hears about, Acha, in the 8th point, one who criticizes any book without reading it, what happens? He hears about it, or somebody else has reviewed and told him about this book. Then he goes about judging that book openly as though he has read. And many people believe him also. Hey, you are very well read and you read a lot of books. So he says, oh, that book, this is what I've heard, and it may not be just passing a comment. Just because somebody that has given you that position of credibility there. So criticizing without actually knowing aage piche, judging something without thoroughly examining is a lakshana of an educated fool. If a man is bored when he hears about somebody's good qualities, harasses by jealousy, does not listen to good advice, and is arrogant, he is an educated fool. If a man is puffed up by egoism, cannot control his anger, and there is contradiction between what he says and does, he is an educated fool. Puffed up by, that means if you are ego anywhere, anger, contradiction in what you say and what you do. That means thinking something, doing another thing. These are all signs of foolishness or stupidity, whether you're educated or uneducated, both ways. But here, all the more, if you have the education, if you can understand, we can, somewhere forgive a man if he is ignorant, he doesn't have the education and behaves one way. He doesn't know at all which way to behave. But one who has the privilege of education and still continues, he is worse off, isn't it? If a man gives a speech without authentic knowledge and takes unnecessarily trouble for it, and his talk is cruel, he is an educated fool. If a listener who is well read and knowledgeable contradicts the speaker with talkative babbling, he is also an educated fool. We shall read from the 11th onwards, the Marathi verse, which I skipped from the 11th verse. We will read up. वक्ता अधिकारेण वक्तृत्वाचा करीसीन वचन जयाचे कठीण तो एक पडथ मूर्ख. That is, if a man gives speech without authentic knowledge, and if a listener वाचाळपणाचे निगुणे अने श्रोता बहुश्रुतपणे वक्तयास आणि उणे वाचाळपणाचे निगुणे तो एक पडथ मूर्ख. 12th. If a listener who is very well read and knowledgeable contradicts the speaker with talkative babbling, he is an educated fool. This is about the listener also. when one goes to listen to somebody, one must do exactly that, listen. But for many people, they are not able to listen. They need to immediately question, contradict, or challenge the speaker. If you are sensible, what you will do is find out you will find out the background of the speaker, and then you will know that okay, this is where he could come from. So let me listen to what he has to say and leave it at that. He may be wrong, the speaker may be wrong. You can always correct the speaker or, question him later. But such a person will go on, like he says, he will, with his own talkative babbling, he will start and he will stand there and speak instead of the speaker. This way he listens. As a listener, he has gone, then he is an educated fool. Some people question also for the sake of questioning. You wonder where is the doubt in this? But when they ask those questions, they have a motive is to tell people how much they know. Motive is to tell people about themselves rather than really question. They are so proud after asking a question. You should see, then you wonder whether this question was really meant as, to know, like Bhagwan Krishna, he when he talks, he is giving the Gita Upadesh to Arjuna. How is Arjuna listening to him and how Arjuna asks him so many questions? That's why we have 18 chapters of the Gita. But how is he asking these questions? Wise, like a person of wisdom, a person who's seeking to know the answer. He says, Krishna, you see it this way. How am I to see it like this? Not challenging him, not contradicting him. Krishna, you say that this is how it should be, but my mind is not like this. How do I manage this? So, see, I respect what you say, I trust what you say, but I have these doubts. That is a proper dialogue that could happen, between a speaker and an audience. But if the audience is here out to show what he is an educated fool. Like that, we just go on with the 13th verse. We will see that. दोष तेवी पुढिलांसी तेची स्वये आपणापासी ऐसे कळे ना जयासी तो एक पडथमूळ अभ्यासाचे गुणे सकळ विद्या जाणे जनाच निववू नेणे तो एक पडथमूर्ख 13th one and read the 15th हस्त भांडीचे ऊन तंते लोभे मृत भ्रमराते ऐसे जो प्रपंची गुंते तो एक पडथमूळ स्त्रियांचा संग धरी स्त्रियांशी निरूपण करी नित्य वस्तू अंगी करी तो एक पडथमूळ जेणे उणीव ये अंगासी तेची दृढ धरी मानसी देह बुद्धी जयापासी तो एक पडथमूळ सांडूनिया श्रीपती जो करी नर स्तुती काम दृष्टी पडिल्याची कीर्ती वणी तो एक पडत मूर्ख वणी स्त्रियांचे आवेव नाना नाटके हाव भाव देवा विसरे जो मानव तो एक पडत मूर्ख भरोन वैभवाचे भरी जीव मात्रा स्तुत्य करी पाषंड मत थावरी तो एक पडत मूर्ख. The 13th in the English verse we shall read. If a man finds fault with elders and he himself has the same fault and also does not know this fact, he is an educator. बहुत बार दूसरों के बारे में, it's very easy to point a fault because our senses go out. They are only seeking to see things outside. It requires maturity and sensitivity to go within and see our own self, and that is the whole point of spiritual evolution. So here, if he is able to find the fault in others but refuses or doesn't see it in his own self, then he is an educated fool. If a man knows all things because he has studied, but cannot give any solace or satisfaction to others, he is an educated. Yeah? Knowledge we have, knowledge of the Grantha, the scriptures, we have read we have read about kindness, compassion, but we have this knowledge of how one should be, but cannot. Somebody being with us doesn't find that comfort, doesn't feel consoled, then he is an educated fool. This is very, very deep actually here. It seems like, हाँ, ठीक है, solace नहीं है, satisfaction. He is pointing out to all these spiritual qualities in a person. What he is not saying, we must be able to look. If somebody is finding solace in your company, finds satisfaction being with you, and you can give that to him, even if you're not educated, you are highly evolved. Why? This comes with a sense of oneness. There is no sense of separation here, no sense of ego. But mostly when people are very educated, they like to stand apart, alone by themselves, and one feels scared to even approach them. There are great pundits also this very great, very, very knowledgeable, walking, talking encyclopedias. But you want to just kind of leave them alone. You're so scared of them. Then they need to, like one I knew of an Ayurveda doctor, he would say, लोग बहुत पढ़े लिखे हैं, उनका नट बोल्ट थोड़ा ढीला करना पड़ेगा. He would say, because they are rigid with their knowledge. Knowledge cannot make you rigid. You have to become humble with it. Then he says, if a man, the 15th verse, if a man is engrossed in family like an elephant tied down by the web of a spider, or a black bee which dies being caught in a lotus at night, he is an educated. So, man engrossed in his family. We are all engrossed in family. Oh my God, are we all educated fools? वो थोड़ा सा family, he is talking about this Tivra Mumukshu here, who should be able to make up, can't lose yourself in the family. All this education must make you question even this. Where am I? Where am I going with all of this? What is the future with all of this? So you see, true education makes you a scientist. You will start questioning these things. Your daily life. Where am I going? What am I doing? Is this what am I supposed to do? Is this the purpose of my life? Education should you do that to you. And you can't get lost. 16th one who likes the company of women, one who teaches renunciation, etc. to women, and one who accepts things not worthy of his status is an educated. One who likes company of women. Why shouldn't somebody like the company of women, Swami Samarth Ramdas? I don't know why you're saying like that. But we know what he is hinting at, meaning a weakness for the opposite sex. That then and teaches renunciation to women. Now, is Swami Samarth Ramdas against women renunciates? Then I should not be even teaching Dasbodh. Because, yes, to a very large extent, the primary role of a woman and the way she is giving birth to a child, and it's a big responsibility, holding the family together. So this renunciation for a woman traditionally was considered that it should come after her family responsibility. Not to speak, we can speak of bhakti to women. because they need the devotion to the higher. They need to anchor themselves in the higher. Whereas it is not only about women. In fact, traditionally, sannyasa ashrama is only after grahastha. After grahastha, vanaprastha, the moment you have seen your first grandchild's face, it is said you must move to the vana, meaning moving, withdrawing from active social life and putting your mind towards higher pursuits, devoting your time to Lord, worship of God. And so from Vanaprastha, hand over all the responsibilities to your children, let them take over and slowly move away. Go on to sannyasa ashrama. At this sannyasa ashrama only, would they say that even Vedanta Vichar is, even a man is ready for Vedanta. Usually, this 40 plus people can really understand the need for spiritual. Of course, there are many who are spiritually inclined at a very young age. Shankara was barely 8 when he wanted to become. So you can jump from brahmacharya to sannyasa, but usually it takes that time. So one is that's why he says there is no need to teach renunciation to a woman when she has her responsibility to fulfill. And 17th one who is adamantly holding on to such things that bring shame to him, and whose center of psyche is around his body only, Deha Vima. He is constantly thinking of, puja, Deha puja is happening. Such a person is an educated fool. One who praises man instead of God, flatters anybody whom he meets, is an educated. We we must appreciate and praise people. Stuti is required, but to constantly pay attention to the talent, the skill, the goodness in a human being, and instead of looking at the divinity in him. This is important. You praise a person, he is very intelligent. Oh, where did he get this intelligence? Oh, she's a very good singer. He is a very good dancer. Beautiful. So, but some people, they give them the darja of Bhagavan because they love these qualities. We fail to see that these are all God given, and that is why you have in the Bhagavad Gita Bhagavan also talking about his own vibhuti. He said, where do I start? But if you have to see, look at it here, look at it there, like that, he gives around 75 examples to Arjuna. Always think that this is divine manifestation. The moment you see it like this, you can actually you go closer to God instead of paying attention to the man instead of God. That's what he means here, and flatters anybody whom he meets. One who describes the beauty of woman's body over dramatizes his actions, and one who forgets God is an educated fool. Moral is the same thing said again. Kavi, वगैरह शायरी, ना? ये सब करते हैं बहुत emotions. There is a beauty. You should appreciate the language with which it is said. No, the kavi, a poet, goes sees things that is not visible to a common man. So he has this great talent and skill, and what he sees, he can so beautifully express in language, which a normal person cannot do. Oh, how did this poet think of writing it this way? Wow, that is so beautiful, isn't it? That is who a kavi is. But here, living in this world of uh, song and beauty and poetry will not get you to evolve. That is one kind of loka, like the Gandharva loka you have. It is not going to uh, get you to the ultimate. So one need not keep on. One can enjoy literature, one can enjoy shairi and enjoy this, but this is not the ultimate. I mean, this is not where we should stand. And just be there because you rejoice in this. Many people, love this all their life, they are doing only this. One who insults others because of his riches and talks doctrines which are heretic is an educated fool. Hmm? Talking of things which is not understood philosophies and philosophies that hearsay also is the sign of an educated fool. From this, after this 20th verse, we shall read the Marathi verses here first. विपन्न आणि वीतरागी ब्रह्मज्ञानी महायोगी भविष्य सांगो लागे जगी तो एक पडत मूर्ख श्रवण होता अभ्यांतरी गुण दोषाची चाळण करी परभूषणे मत्सरी तो एक पडत मूर्ख नाही भक्तीचे साधन नाही वैराग्य ना भजन क्रिये वेळा ब्रह्मज्ञान बोले तो एक पडत मूर्ख न मनी तीर्थ न मनी क्षेत्र न मनी वेद न मनी शास्त्र पवित्र कुळी जो अपवित्र तो एक पडत आधर देखोनी मन धरे कीर्ती विणस्तुती करी सवेची निंदी अनादरी तो एक पडत मागे ऐक पुढे एक ऐसा जयाचे दंडक बोले ऐक करी एक तो एक पडत प्रपंच विषी साधर परमार्थी ज्याचा अनादर प्राणपणे घे आधार तो एक पडत येतार्थ सांडून वचन तो जो रक्षण बोले मन ज्याचे जिणे पराधीन तो एक पडत सोंग संपादी वरी वरी करू नये त्याची करी मार्ग चुकोण भरे भरी तो एक पडत रात्रंदिवस करी श्रवण न संडी आपले अवगुण स्वाहित आपले आपण नेणे तो एक पडत मूर्ख. One who has deep learning and control of his passions, he has knowledge about absolute Brahman and is also a yogi of high caliber. What is all this? He has deep learning, control of passions, knowledge of Brahman, yogi of high caliber, and yet starts fortune telling. Such is an educated fool. Why will he do this? That he will start telling for fortune telling, क्या होगा आगे क्या होगा ऐसे होगा क्यों होगा. He has not. Has he understood this, or does he have desires that because anybody loves this fortune telling? Nobody wants to know about absolute Brahman, but tell me what is going to happen tomorrow, what is going to happen to me specifically. This is everybody's concern, isn't it? And if he starts doing this, he is an educated fool. One who starts evaluating the good points and bad points of whatever he hears, he starts evaluating and is jealous of the glory of others is an educated fool. Educated people are very jealous also, looks like. Every 2-3 statements he's saying that people are. The one who is jealous, maybe that he has seen. One who does not do devotional rituals has neither desirelessness nor faithful devotion to God. And one who talks about divine wisdom without practically behaving according to that is an educated fool. There are many preachers, isn't it, who don't practice what they preach. They speak about it very well, but in their actions do not seem to follow the same. One who has no belief in auspicious spiritual places or sacred places or Vedas or sciences and is an unworthy man born in a noble family. He could be born in a noble family, but he is an educated fool, or he does not believe in auspicious places or in the scriptures. And if his knowledge is coming in the way, he is truly an educated fool, such a person. True knowledge will only make you more curious, make you wonder, like Einstein always says, no? Taking things for granted, which happens to most of us. Once we have crossed a particular age, we think we know everything. There is nothing more to learn, nothing more. You can't look at the world with wonder. Everything seems the same, everything you know around in this world. If that quality is there, no, something within us is lost. This sense of curiosity, this is a very sattvic, that there is an earnestness, there is great enthusiasm in life for everything. Like a child, what is this? What is that? Sometimes you get tired with children, they want to know everything. ये क्यों? ऐसा क्यों? वैसा क्यों नहीं? But something happens. After a little while, we are not interested like this anymore. But that is how one should be, ideally. So, this, if you do not care, and oh, the scripture says, I know what they say, they are not worth it. This place, oh, it's a hopeless place to. Many people, after having studied and gone, then you hear only things negative from them, you wonder what that education has done to them. One who cares only for his flatterers, pleases and their praises anyone not really famous, and in the next moment starts slander is an educated. He likes to be around with yes men, yes boss, and who praise him. And he simply praises somebody, and as soon as they have turned away, he begins to slander. This is not a good lakshana. One who is not consistent in his actions, talks one thing and does another thing, is an educated fool. Very often, we are not very clear in our thinking. We must be able to think clearly, and until it's not clear, let's not verbalize. If we want, we can write it down for ourselves and be very sure this is what we mean. And when we say it, we must act accordingly. Naito, it is like how Kabira says, three men sitting in a boat, each one rowing the boat in a different direction. So one is thinking one way, one is acting one way, one is. And what happens to this boat? It doesn't move anywhere. It's constantly moving, but it's circling in that water, not getting anywhere in one on the spot jogging करते हैं ना वो वैसे वाला वो तो फिर भी exercise हो जाता है. But for such people, you lose credibility. Who is a person of integrity? A person whose thoughts, whose ideas, whose speech, and whose actions are in sync with each other. He immediately gains the credibility from people praise him and they trust him. But when you don't do this, you have something in your mind, you say something else. You say one thing and do another thing altogether, people will not trust you anymore. One who loves family life and disrespects the spiritual path, and one who is in the darkness of his own pride of knowledge is an educated. One who, instead of speaking to the point, speaks with a reserved mind, and one whose life is dependent on others is an educated fool. One whose life is dependent on others. We are all dependent, we are all interdependent. Now, that is not the kind of dependency. You will say, if I have to eat my food, I'm dependent on the farmer. Yes, each one of us is this way. But in the house, in the family, today, if my maid doesn't come, I have to change entire plan of my living. If my driver is not there, I cannot get to my, a place. That means these are the people who are who are planning my daily schedule. How can that happen? As much as possible, one must remain independent. The one who is dependent like this on many people is an educated. One who makes a show of his goodness, but acts in a way one should not act and gets on the wrong path of life is an educator. One who listens to sermons day and night, and one who does not know what is good for himself is an educated fool. They listen to sermons, they attend all classes. They don't know what is good for themselves. Does this happen? Yes, it happens very often. We shall start reading from the 31st verse, Marathi verses. निरूपणी भले भले श्रोते येऊन बैसे क्षुद्रे लक्षुणी बोले तो एक पडथमुख शिष्य झाला अनधिकार आपली अवज्ञा करी पुन्हा त्याची आशा धरी तो एक पडथमुख होत असता श्रवण देहास आले उणेपण क्रोधे करी चिणचिण तो एक पडथमुख भरोन वैभवाचे भरी सद्गुरूची उपेक्षा करी गुरु परंपरा चोरी तो एक पडथमुख ज्ञान बोलोन करी स्वार्थ कृपणा ऐसा सांची अर्थ अर्थासाठी लावी परमार्थ तो एक पडथमुख वर्तल वर्तल्या विण शिकवी ब्रह्मज्ञान लावणी लावी पराधेन गोसावी तो एक पडथमुख भक्ती मार्ग अवघा मोले आपणामध्ये उपांडर पडे ऐसिये कर्मी पवाणे तो एक पडथमुख प्रपंच गेला हातीचा लेश नाही परमार्थाचा द्वेषी देवा ब्राह्मणाचा तो एक पडथमुख त्यागावया अवगुण बोलिले पडथमुखाचे लक्षण विचक्षणे निवून पूर्ण क्षमा केले पाहिजे परम मूर्ख माझी मूर्ख जो संसारी मानी सुख या संसार दुःखा ऐसे दुःख आणि कमी त्याची पुढे निरूपण जन्म दुःखाचे लक्षण गर्भवास हा दारुण पुढे निरोग इथे श्री दासबोधे गुरु शिष्य संवादे पडथ मूर्ख लक्षण समास दशक दूसरा समाप्त. We shall just see what he says. 31st verse in English translation. A speaker who looks at an insignificant man while addressing a gathering, though many worthy, noble listeners are present, is an educated fool. He has paid attention and he has been able to minutely he has observed behavior and conduct of people. So he says when somebody is talking and in that audience there are men of wisdom, but he doesn't look at those people, men of wisdom. He doesn't आदर नहीं है वो रिस्पेक्ट भी नहीं है कि these are the intelligent wise people who are listening, but he pays attention to somebody who is not of that caliber and talks to him. One who puts his hope in a disciple who is a failure and who even disobeys him is an educator. He's talking of, I think, यहाँ पे even teachers, because teachers can make all these mistakes. In a disciple who is a failure, he should be able to, know this, no difference. He gives a disciple a chance. He never gives hope, leaves hope. He wants to work on the disciple, that's a different thing. But if he really has hope from a failure, then he is an educated fool. This we must know. One who suffers some bodily discomfort while listening to a public talk or on hearing about his bodily defects gets angry and irritated is an educated fool. The reasons why all told. One who becomes rich and by his pride disregards his teacher or the cult in which he has learned is an educated fool. Sometimes this happens by our own pride, and because we earn some wealth and fame, we do not want to connect with the kind of people who have taught us our basics. One who talks of unselfishness and is actually very selfish. यही बात हो गई फिर से. Being one way and saying another thing. One who hoards money and uses spiritual knowledge for selfish ends. If you see such a person, run away from such a person. Just because he speaks very well about God and spirituality, do not get fooled. We are seeing this happen in society, isn't it? And you wonder how these people have so many followers. Why do such people follow such gurus also? Because they have their own selfish desires. So you see, one is they are mutually benefited with each other. One who indulges in actions which are detrimental to devotional path and which create division among people is an educator. Creating division in one person by causing him to, or shake his faith, even that is not a righteous thing to do. Bhagavan Krishna has very clearly said, somebody has Shraddha in one thing, you should not shake his faith there. And what about bringing people to divisions among people? That is also very, very not required at all. So one who loses his own family life and has not got any knowledge of higher things and who hates gods and the priests is an educated fool. I have told these bad qualities peculiar to educated fools, but one who is wise may please excuse me if there is any error. This also Bhagavan has said here. Swami Samartha, he says, Ramdas Swami says, I have mentioned these, but if it doesn't apply or if I made a mistake, he is seeking forgiveness. Yeah. The greatest fool of all fools that he considers is one who mistakenly feels happy in worldly life because there is no sorrow equal to the sorrow of this mundane. This he is declaring. Huh? What is he saying? This is a big hit to many of us, no? Because we are probably, we are concerned about the world, very difficult to withdraw from it. Nobody is telling that we should physically withdraw from this world, but pay attention to this. What is he saying? The greatest fool of all fools is the one who mistakenly feels happy in worldly life, which means there is no happiness in this. Not only is Swami Samarth saying this, Ramdas Swami, but all saints say this. That is why they tell us to withdraw from this. And seek there, because they do point out to that realm where you will find this. This worldly life, Kabira says, you take best example is Gautam Buddha. He had the best of the worldly life. And yet, when he saw that all of this, whatever goodness I see in this, is coming to an end all the time. If it is coming to an end, it is not true. And if it's not true, then what is the truth? This is what said. And his teaching declares there is suffering and this world is full of suffering. But he says there is a way out of it. So to mistakenly think and be attached to this world is being very foolish, according to Swami Ramdas here. So that is exactly the subject of my talk in the next chapter, in which I am going to show the horrific sorrow of birth and the stay in the world. And with this, thus, in the second Dashaka of Dasbodh, in the dialogue between Guru and disciple, the 10th chapter by name Signs of Educated Fools is completed here. So with this topic he completes, and then the next Dashaka is speaking of suffering, suffering at birth, suffering in life, basically, this family life, huh? And the way he looks at it. It is important that we understand and we try and look at it from the way the masters look at it, because that's when we begin to see something. Like I remember very long ago, I was listening to one master, he was from Hyderabad, he was here, and he was talking about Shiva Tantras. He was talking about a few meditation techniques from the Shiva Sutras, and um, all disciples, students had gathered around him, and there was this 18-year-old girl, very traditional Marwadi family, and she was like, they were looking for a boy for her to be married, and so she was a little upset. She was like, I'm barely 18, Guruji, I don't want to get married. And so, but he knew that it had to happen and that would be happening. So there was no point, fighting that situation. So the way he explained to her how it could be very nice to be married and also, have a full life and do what you want to do in life. And it all took a matter of 10 minutes, he explained to her. And it was so beautiful. It was coming from such wisdom. She was at the same time so calm she became. She was no longer agitated, and somewhere there was great acceptance with what is going to happen. So she was not resisting something. This was so beautiful. And then as we spoke, something happened and he said, what exactly are you looking for when you say you're walking the spiritual path or you coming to attend these classes? Immediately, my response was, I want to see the world from your perspective. I want to see from where you are seeing. Because what you saw, because that example happened, it happened right in front of you. How did so easily he see this and the possibility of everything being in place, very nicely being can happen, when we are not fighting things according to our own limited knowledge of what is right, what is wrong, what should be, what should not be. Just relax in that moment and let intuition guide. So that is why, if what I'm trying to say is, if we can try and look at that ease with which this wisdom simply, and this wisdom is there, this intelligence is there all around us. What is stopping us is probably our own thinking. Like there was this Buddhist master who says, let the senses, he speaks and just let the senses not come in the way, of our, let the eye not come in the way of seeing, something like that. The eye is a menace to clear sight. That's so beautiful. The eye is a problem to clear vision. Can we understand this? The eye is made to see gross things alone. So when we give too much importance to the eye, we are paying attention to gross things, which is already an expression, which is already manifested. The ear is a menace to subtle hearing. The mind is a menace to wisdom. Every organ of the senses is a menace to its own capacity. worth thinking, worth contemplating. And what do the senses get us? Knowledge, understanding. They do get us, and knowledge is important. But it has very limited use. The moment we think we know everything and this is how it should be done, we are dead. It's over. There is no life expressing through us. See? Then each one of us becomes an educated fool. So and Vedanta Vichara is like that. When you say, this is blue, when I'm saying this is blue, what should the student or seeker also understand? If the teacher says this is blue, he also means this is not red, this is not green, this is not black. It should be understood. That is why Vedanta Vichara, it is like something, sometimes the teacher is very in literal sense, says directly, this is this. Some other ways, the teacher is indicating something more, implying something. So when is it to be taken literally? When are you to go into what is implied here? That is where attunement will start. And while on the spiritual path, while we hear everything, more and more reliance on our own thinking is actually a problem, an obstacle. We must be able to suspend this. So this getting more intuitive, trying to contemplate, and then leaving the words behind is important. So Swami Ramdas has also said so many things, which is very obvious because he has picked up behavior and conduct, whatever is visible. But he says this way if he is doing, he is a tamoguni. If this way he is doing, he is sattva-guni. We must actually contemplate on this. Why is he relating these two things? Or why is he saying if this way he is acting, he is not sattva-guna predominant? Why? Until we don't have answers for that, we will not, and not everything is going to, in fact, in Advaita Vedanta, Vedanta teachers also, what is said and what can be contemplated from Shravanam to Mananam, you can have your teachers' help and support. But for Nididhyasanam, Dhyanam, meditation, you are on your own. So let's go back reading this and contemplating. What exactly has Swami Ramdas implied here? He has said this. Why should one be doing this and not that, not the other? You will get your answers. So with this, we come to an end of the second Dashak chapter. Whenever we will meet again. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम हरि ओम
शांति